Jeannie McCoy, 10831 West Lake Street. I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but after hearing a couple of people come up and ask certain questions, it's time to rewrite the room. My way through this, so please bear with me. As a longtime community member, parent of recently graduated kids from preschool through the high school, and now currently as a school district employee, I understood in our meeting earlier that this COVID fund was going to run out in September of '24, hence we were facing a $4 million deficit. Is there any way, shape, or form, I'm sure question, that this can either be done in smaller steps over the next 2 years? Is there a possibility of doing, I don't want to say better planning, but giving maintenance time to do what they need to do in the buildings, to give the staff and the community time to adjust and ask more questions? Is there just any rhyme or reason why this entire process cannot be done in smaller steps or wait another school year? Is that COVID deficit September deadline that detrimental that it has to be done by the end of this school year to prep for the 24-25 school year?
So I can just say that when we're looking at the budget and we see that we're operating in that deficit, each year we're accounting for the increase in that cost. So the longer that we wait to correct this measure, the longer, quicker that we fall within that threshold of the state possibly coming
So
in.
it is detrimental to a certain degree,
Yes.
that September deadline.
We have about probably 4 to 5 years of a positive fund balance left in the district. And that's why these 2 years, we need to be able to correct that, because we don't want to get to a point where our fund balance is so low. We want to still try to maintain that healthy fund balance. So that's why not waiting until that 5th year is crucial, because then what our district is at is starting from scratch, which we were at previously. We don't want to get to a point where our district is below a 5%.
And in saying that, I've always appreciated your transparency, Kyle, as a student when you were here coming before the board to speak on the various subjects you did, helping to try to improve our school district. A 4 to 5 year timeline.
Yeah.
So while I know we have to deal with our problems that we have currently and try to write and to stay out of red, are there going to be talks currently to stave off that 5-year possibility? Like what is the 5 to 10 year plan, or is that just not practical at this point because we're busy dealing with what we're dealing with now?
No, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong in what I'm paraphrasing.
Like I said, I'm just kind of going off the cuff
Correct.
here, so.
And kind of what I'm reading here is you're saying like, okay, we're in this emergency mode and we're putting together this plan and we're coming up with this because we know this is the crisis we have on the table right now. Are we doing this and not thinking about that long-term aspect, that 5-year, 10-year strategic plan that really should be developed and should be put in place? But we're not getting to that because we're so in the hyper-focused on the crisis. Did I paraphrase that correctly?
That is perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
So it's essentially like,
Yeah, I mean, right now we're trying to solve the issue, because what becomes difficult is when you're in that operating deficit, decisions moving forward. I mean, we have to make sure that whatever decisions that are impacting our programs, our curriculum, that we can sustain that. And right now, we don't know if we are able to, because we don't know, there's nothing that's in place to correct that operating deficit.
So we're working with what we have at the
Yeah.
moment, hoping the best for the future and making plans from there.
and I'll say this, when I was first on board in August, September, we talked about strategic planning. We said that's something that absolutely needs to be done, that we need to start that process. But quite honestly, this has been what became the focus and rightfully the focus at this point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rich Pratt, 244-3 Hayes again. In utmost respect for Superintendent Weiger, my question is, what is the board going to do differently to prevent it from happening again?
So right now, I know that there were previous policies that we're going to be evaluating to change to make sure we have mechanisms specific to our grants in place so that the board can be able to see those. We're working with those right now to change. We're also looking at making sure that moving forward that any budgetary next budget, that all of that is broken down. So making sure the board's going through that workshop to make sure we go through with our CFO line item by line item. We need to be able to see it. I know previously, and in most school districts, they get that general overview of that budget. And so being able to actually see line item by line.
And I will add to this too, that one of my concerns that I noticed, and I think this was a few board meetings ago when we were working with MASB, and to learn that we don't have committee processes in place at this point. Because when I was here as a teacher and as an administrator, building administrator, we used to have finance committees that had various union presidents would sit on them, various stakeholders in the community would sit on them, and it gave it that more oversight to what was taking place. And quite honestly, those kind of things need to be reestablished and re-put back in for this very reason. The more eyes you see on something, the more you're going to see what happens.
Thank you.
Stephanie Pratt, 24403 Hayes. Two questions. When and how are parents going to be notified about this proposal? Because if I did not work for the district, I would not know. And
Yeah.
my child also goes to West, my child also goes to Taylor Parks.
Yeah.
I'm the president of the PTO at Taylor Parks that we just reformed, and now the school is looking to close. I understand it's the oldest school, but I would not know as a parent. Are you even open to hearing from the parents before making a decision?
So I mean, that's something that the board can definitely discuss. I know we have the action after closed session, so that's something we can discuss back there. And then also looking ahead, if the vote was to go through tonight, that's when every single staff member, every single community member, every single parent would be emailed. Our social media would have the video that.
Yeah, we have communication items
But
ready.
is the vote to actually do it, or is the vote just to present the proposal? I guess that's the part I'm also confused on.
So the vote tonight would be to do it, and that's because we're trying to look, because next year we do hit that $4.8 million operating deficit.
And I'll say this from my years of, when I was here as a teacher and as a building admin, there were many times we always came late to the party on all these things, and we were desperately trying to throw together closing a building in April for the next school year, and we just can't get ourselves into that boat. So I understand that part too. It's finding that fine line and that fine balance.
I understand
Yes.
your concern, but on
Yes.
that note, I am going to echo my
Yeah,
coworker's
absolutely.
concern that if you're going to vote to do this proposal without giving more of the staff
Yep.
time to think of their questions, without letting parents address their concerns, I feel very uncomfortable with that. And it does raise questions to me about the transparency issue that has already been raised, that you addressed yourself
Yep.
in the video. Additionally, I see all the numbers, I appreciate all the numbers. I am also going to ask you to consider, I'm not 100% sure that you've considered the human aspect of this. Like I said, I understand Taylor Parks is one of the oldest elementary school buildings. It makes sense if one has to close, that would be one of them. But I cannot overstate the relationships and the families that are in each of these buildings. There is going to be a cost, and it is going to hurt, even if it does become necessary. So a little bit more time and a little bit more explanation, I think would be very helpful, just to help. Because I know it's not just the teachers. My kids have a relationship with their lunch lady, that they still go see her down the hallway. So just please consider that the numbers don't always present the human aspect of what we're talking about in making these decisions. And I do appreciate that it's not an easy decision. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on.
Hello, my name is Michelle Studi, and I'm a teacher at Johnson Early Childhood Center. And my question, well, statement and then a question. The child care licensing process takes about 6 to 9 months to complete. We can't open or serve children at Eureka Heights until that process is complete. So there's no way Eureka Heights will be licensed by fall or even winter of the 24-25 school year. So what is the plan for all of the GSRP children in Taylor when our current current licensed building is filled with Kenyon students, and we're not allowed to open as a licensed child care center at Eureka Heights, so we have no home for these children.
To answer that question, we're working with Lee on navigating that whole licensing process. So, and we're
Well, the
working with,
process, I mean, and Lee said that today in our meeting too. She knows that we won't be able to be open in fall or winter. It's a 6 to 9 month process. So it's not a matter of navigating it. It's a matter of where will our home be when we can't open in the fall.
it cut out a little bit. Can you just repeat that? Okay.
I'm wondering where our home will be when we can't open it in the fall. Where will these children go to school?
Again, working with Lee, we're going to be addressing that and making sure that the GSRP program does have a home next year. So,
It'll have to be somewhere licensed, which currently is only Johnson in this district.
thank you.
Hi, Jennifer Myers, 80044 View. Is there a certain person in administration that does the licensing, or is it somebody at Johnson that does it?
It would be the state, if the state has to come in and put.
Because I do know that it could be less than 6 to 9 months, just from personal experience, because I work in the state of Michigan. So